just talking about do we call it war in the Middle East, the attack on Iran? The Daily Telegraph's headline today, how are we feeling about this one? Do we rate this as a pun? Ayatollah, you so. Ayatollah, you so. What do you? I think it probably gets there. Do we think? What do we think? Text me 0467 922 702. Yes, the death of Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei leads to some big questions as how we go forward. How's it been accepted, though, in America? I'm going to cross now to Simon Marks, Chief Correspondent at Feature Story News in Washington, D.C. Morning, Simon.
Morning, Craig.
What do you think of the headline, Ayatollah, you so? Would you have gone with that one?
The Daily Telegraph has changed in the years since I've left the UK, clearly.
No, this is the Australian Daily Telegraph.
Oh, so the Australian
Daily Telegraph is kind of loves a pun headline. So, yeah, you're obviously thinking maybe you wouldn't have gone for that one. Yes. In terms of what's the response been in Washington to these attacks? I mean, President Trump did not seek the authority. It was not that anyone knew within, Congress or otherwise. What's the response been?
Well, I think that the president is now skating on very thin ice, Craig. I mean, within the last few hours, first of all, we've learnt that the first American fatalities have taken place in the region. 3 American service personnel killed, 5 seriously wounded, several others hit by shrapnel. They're not saying down at Central Command in Florida where those injuries were sustained, but the fact that they're talking about shrapnel suggests that at least one Iranian missile got through and hurt Americans and killed Americans, either on an aircraft carrier or at one of America's military bases in the region. It was notable today that no administration official, no representative from the Trump administration was on any of the Sunday television talk programs here. Normally, the administration always puts someone up to talk about what's going on in the United States. The president has left it to himself to engage in a series of telephone conversations with hand-picked reporters. He's told one of them from CNBC that operations in Iran are moving along very well ahead of schedule. He's told a reporter at Fox that 48 Iranian leaders were killed, 47 plus the country's supreme leader. But he's indicated to The Atlantic magazine that he is now ready to talk to the supreme leader's colleagues within the Iranian regime. He said, they want to talk and I have agreed to talk, so I will be talking to them. They should have done it sooner, he says. Well, of course, the Iranian regime was engaged in talks with the Trump administration in Geneva for weeks, up until last Thursday, when both sides said they were going back to their respective capitals to present the outcome of those talks for feedback. And instead of feedback, what we got was that sudden US and Israeli airstrike on Tehran and other targets across Iran in the early hours of Saturday morning in Tehran, and that has been continuing.
Yeah, so Simon, it's interesting that he says they want to talk. He's happy to talk to them. I mean, he's just called on the Iranian people to rise up, saying this will be maybe your only chance to do it, and yet he's saying I'm willing to talk to the kind of new leadership. It seems to be very contradictory positions.
Absolutely. And there were contradictory positions even within the way that he said to the Iranian public, rise up, because in that televised statement that he gave at 2:30 in the morning here, as those major combat operations were getting underway, he urged the Iranians to take fate and circumstances into their own hands. This is the moment you've been waiting for. This is the time for action, urging them to rise up and take control of their own country. But then, in exactly the same paragraph of his statement, he said, but don't go outside. It's too dangerous. You've got to shelter in place. Bombs are falling everywhere. So how on earth they were supposed to rise up while simultaneously being told you've got to stay indoors, at least for now, was very unclear. Over the weekend, he gave an interview to the website Axios, in which he said that he was ready for a possible off-ramp and was concerned considering the possibility of these talks with the regime. I mean, that has conjured up in people's minds here the idea that he wants to do Venezuela all over again. You know, he went into Venezuela in January, overthrew Nicolas Maduro, and now is working with the same government that Maduro was leading, only with a different head in place. And, of course, he has secured American control of Venezuela's oil. Maybe he is now open to some kind of similar resolution in Iran, but how on earth is that going to go down with the Iranian people who were being told, rise up and smite your oppressors?
Yeah, as always, a number of different goals seem to be in play here. Domestically, what's the response been? I mean, has it just gone along kind of party lines? Have the Democrats opposed it? Have Republicans been in favour, or has it been different to that?
Yeah, no, it's not gone along party lines because Donald Trump is on the receiving end of an enormous amount of fury from key influencers within his Make America Great Again movement. Remember that this president was elected on a platform of ending forever wars. He wasn't going to drag American troops into conflict in far-off places that the Americans know very little about and in some cases can't even find on a map. That was not what this presidency was all about. And so you've got many MAGA voices taking to social media and saying, I voted for this president because I wanted to make America great again. I did not vote for this president because I wanted to make Iran free again. And if you look at the national polling, Reuters has conducted a poll since the airstrikes began. Only 1 in 4 Americans approved of the airstrike that killed Iran's leader on Saturday, and about half of Americans, including 1 in 4 Republicans, now believe that President Donald Trump is too willing to use military force. So he's got massive amounts of explaining to do here. It's still very unclear when he's going to make a presidential address or send his top national security officials out to tell the American people why Iran was such an imminent national security threat that this is now a conflict that is worth tolerating as it takes American lives.
That is extraordinary. Fascinating to see that response. I'm quite surprised by the kind of negative response from the public, it seems. Thank you so much for speaking to us, Simon. Appreciate it.
Cheers, Craig.
Simon Markstead, Chief Correspondent of Feature Story News in Washington, D.C. And interesting to see the US is not going down that well.
702 ABC Radio Sydney.